Lord of the Mysteries. Chapter 634. City of White. Stone University. Professor Michel. Notebook from the 20-year war era. Audrey extracted the key terms in the words and glanced at Susie, who was running happily in front of the mare. She went straight to the point by asking, "Ma'am Smine, what kind of notebook is it?" "I'm not sure. All I know is that it belongs to the period of the 20-year war. It's part of Associate Professor Michel's collection. It has an important characteristic. The patterns on the cover faintly forms a dragon." Smine didn't hide it from Audrey, as she told her all the information she knew. Audrey, who silently listened to her descriptions, restrained her burgundy mare as she considered how she could complete the mission. Visit Associate Professor Michel and view his collections before raising a request to buy one of the items isn't too difficult. Although it's embarrassing to admit this, it's quite unlikely he would reject me regardless of the way it's said. Yes, Audrey, you shouldn't be overly reliant on these. The biggest problem is being out of the blue. I didn't know Associate Professor Michel before this, making it very difficult to explain why I'm suddenly visiting him. Besides, I don't know what the notebook means to him. Announcing my desire to purchase it might result in him being alert and wary. Jen's elder brother is studying at Stone University. At the last gathering, he depicted his penchant for describing and discussing matters. If I were to invite him and his sister to the next afternoon tea and steer the topic towards history, archaeology, or collections, then he will likely mention Associate Professor Michel. Yes, at a university, there's definitely not many people who can be called collectors. With such a precursor, I can send someone to pay a visit to Associate Professor Michel and make the request to view his collection. At the first meeting, I'll try my best not to show my desire for it. I'll observe the owner's actions and guide him to reveal his true self. This will be helpful for me to use suitable matters for suitable requests at a suitable time. After confirming her line of thought, Audrey nodded at Smine and smiled. I'll work hard to complete the mission, but I can't guarantee success. Just as she said that, she tightened the girth before shooting forward like an arrow, heading straight for a reddish-brown fox that was darting around in a hunting encirclement. Above the tumultuous sea, the Blue Avenger was like a leaf tumbling amidst heavy squalls. From time to time, it would be thrown up before crashing back into the waves, but it maintained a stunning sense of balance without any signs of capsizing. Inside the captain's cabin, Alger Wilson was floating around the window as he looked at the waves outside, which were as high as mountains. There were forceful winds blowing around him in silence. Some time later, he landed his feet onto the carpet. Windblast is indeed a sequence that can be easily acted, based on its name. The only problem is that it occasionally makes me irascible, completely matching the characteristics of a gale. Alger sighed inwardly without any delight. Over the past 2 months or so, he had failed to obtain the Ocean Songster formula through his own resource channels and the Tarot Club's trades. After all, it was that of a Sequence 5, the sequence closest to a demigod. The corresponding formula was already something where demand far outstripped supply. Even with boatloads of money and the willingness to pay a premium, it was very difficult to buy one. Normally speaking, joining the corresponding church or organization was the most effective method of obtaining the corresponding formula, but as a Church of Storm's bishop, Alger was unable to rely on this method. Due to particular secrets, he needed to hide his strength in order to win the freedom he needed to take action and be under light monitoring. Only after he had sufficient confidence would he head for a place and complete the goal he had been waiting for all this time. To his joy, he didn't waste the past 2 months. At the very least, the speed at which he digested the Windblessed potion was pretty decent. The Windblessed is simple. Ocean Songster is said to be quite difficult. Must I frequently sing? Alger couldn't help but turn his head and look towards the deck. Although he was separated from them by several rooms, he could still hear the drunken sailors singing with gusto, creating a din that could rival the storm's roars. Alger unknowingly frowned. Backlund, Sherwood Borough. Synthus Circus. Ma'am, didn't you say that you're performing magic? Why are you dressed like that? A youth asked the woman dressed in a pitch-black pointed hat and dress of the same color in puzzlement. I don't know why I'm wearing this as well. Perhaps it's because of my first appearance here. My brain was freezing from the weather and my style was subsequently fixed. Furs rubbed her face, which had red and yellow paint, as she replied with a smile. In ancient times, magic is often mistaken as witchcraft. But this has nothing to do with why I'm wearing this. She picked up the middle of 3 porcelain cups which were placed in front of her. She then placed a white ball beneath it. Then, she quickly switched the positions of the cups before smiling at the youth who had questioned her. Guess where the tiny ball is? Isn't this one of the gambling methods invented by Emperor Roselle? The youth said with piqued interest. But you aren't a croupier, but a trick master at a circus. Therefore, I believe that the ball has already been switched away. All the cups are empty. Furs smiled and said, Congratulations, you got it wrong. She suddenly picked up the cup in the middle as a white blur flew out. It was a dove. As for the tiny ball from before, it was where the dove had left. Wow! Godly! Wonderful magic! Brilliant! After a series of amazed exclamations, Furs clearly looked pleased with herself as she looked at the distant cathedral bell, put away her props, and returned to the tent where the circus master resided. Are you really resigning? I can double your salary. The circus master came over as he tried to persuade her otherwise. Unfortunately, I had already summarized the trick master principles by the middle of March and had already completely digested the potion last week. If it wasn't because the contract ended today, I wouldn't even be here today. Although being a trick master feels very nice, this doesn't stop me from my goal of advancing to astrologer. Teacher said that he would be giving me the formula, ingredients, and a gift this week. What kind of gift will it be? Sigh, the ravings from the full moon are getting more terrifying. If not for Mr. Fool, I definitely would have lost control and become a monster. Furs extended her right hand and covered her mouth, languidly yawning. Then she said with a smile, Well, I'm actually a best-selling author. My next book is related to circuses, so I came here to be hired. A best-selling author? The circus master's eyes lit up as he said worriedly and expectantly, Will you write bad things about us? Are there any? I had a great time for the past 2 months. Furs took off her pointed black hat. The circus master revealed a sincere smile and said, Wall, Mamwall, can you mention our circus's name in your book? I'll pay you advertisement fees. Of course, it won't be much. As you know, I'm responsible for the livelihoods of many people. That can be done? This circus master is quite smart. For the first time, Furs realized that a novel could advertise, just like in newspapers or magazines. Furthermore, the format was more obscure and natural. Amidst waves, a liner with rows of cannons traveled along a safe sea route without daring to deviate far from it. Any deviation from the sea route east of Orovie Island usually meant disappearing. Even pirates didn't dare to stray too far from the safe zones. This sea was filled with unexplored regions, filled with all sorts of sensational legends. After 2 months of volunteer work and finding 4 chances to engage in true acting, Klein bade farewell to carrying patients, scrubbing toilet bowls, cleaning vomit, and other miscellaneous chores. He boarded a ship headed for the Gargas archipelago. At the tarot gathering in early March, he had hired the hermit Katla in a private conversation. He would meet her at the capital of Gargas archipelago, the city of White Naz. He would then board her ship and head for the dangerous ocean, which was close to an illusion, on the far east of the Sonia Sea. There, he would search for unaffiliated mermaids who lived there. The hermit Katla seemed to be very interested in meeting members of the tarot club in the real world. With just a few seconds of thought, she agreed to the world's request. However, due to the high level of danger, she had given a high asking price. £3,000. Klein's first reaction was to give up and take Mr. Hangman's ghost ship, but considering how there would be many sailors from the Church of Storms following him, making his freedom limited, and the fact that the level of danger in the easternmost area of the Sonia Sea was high, he finally accepted Ma'am Hermit's condition. As for her, she would wait around the Gargas archipelago for a month at the beginning of April. Any delay would imply the end of the cooperation. To not waste the £1,000 deposit, Klein didn't wait to complete his digestion before heading for Gargas Archipelago from Oroville Island. Of course, with the summaries and chances at true acting from before, he was already very close to completely digesting the faceless potion. Even if he didn't use true acting, just acting in his capacity as Gehrman Sparrow was enough to complete the digestion in 2 to 3 weeks. Due to this reason, as well as the world's identity being tied with Gehrman Sparrow, Klein transformed back into the lunatic and powerful adventurer once he left the hospital. However, he did disguise himself to a certain degree. As he watched the perturbed sea surface, Klein finally saw a port city that had houses mainly made of white rock. The most eastern front of the Faysac Empire, the capital of the Gargas Archipelago, Nas. I'm finally overseas. Klein looked at a fishing boat carrying whale meat cruising into the harbor. Its ruggedness wasn't concealed. Meanwhile, he discovered several ships hanging pirate flags docked at the harbor without any signs of concealment. Indeed, Oroville Island's eastern front is a playground for pirates. Klein wore his hat and carried his luggage and left the cabin after the liner came to a stable halt. He went down the gangway into the harbor. After a few steps, he saw a crew of pirates seemingly entering conflict with a local gang. Both sides drew their weapons as they clashed. Klein calmly walked past, showing no signs of stopping them. At that moment, he saw a local pull out a few cans from his pocket and open the lid before throwing it into the middle of the road. What's the meaning of this? Klein nearly laughed out before recalling an infamous item at sea. Canned wolffish. Canned wolffish was popular on the east coast of Faysac and the Gargas Archipelago. Just as the thought surfaced, an indescribable stench seemed to inundate Klein's olfactory senses. His facial muscles twitched as he tried hard to resist his body's discomfort as he quickly left the region. A small number of pirates who were struck by the stench vomited immediately, while the remaining ones frantically fled while dragging their companions as though they had lost all their combat strength. A minute later, in a secluded corner, the crazy adventurer, Gehrman Sparrow, crouched down and silently belched.